Now,
Okay,
welcome.
well, thanks for coming here. Thanks to Natasha for setting up the shoot. These two are my works, and they're part of a larger series of works. I'm still working on these actually, because I think I still have something new to do. so far I have like 10, I guess, or 12 like paintings in this series, and I didn't really prepare any notes or anything, so I'll tell you like my sources of inspiration and the actual process of doing these, and like I can talk about my other works too if you want. But I thought to give you like more question and answer. I like that more actually. So in this series, as you can see, I was thinking about like interior spaces and dreams at the same time. I see dreams like almost every night. Sometimes I see like 4 dreams a night, and I write them down. So since 2001, I've been writing my dreams, and I have like a lot of like different dreams. They're like sometimes they're like violent, sometimes they're like just about the spaces. So that's why I say that there's a connection between these and my dreams. So my dreams are definitely the main source of inspiration in this series. And the thing is that like in my dreams, I usually move between spaces. Like both, like suddenly the space transforms into something totally new. That like there are signs of like spaces that I lived in, like in my childhood. Sometimes there is something that I just went to a party or something and I got drunk there. So I had all these like visions of like walls and things. So they are really like images from like different times and different like situations. Yeah, so that's the main thing here. That there is a connection between the places we live in, the interior spaces mainly, and our past, and the past of the place, I would say. So for me, like each space, each interior space has its own like history. We move in to an apartment, someone else lived in that space before, so I see all these like ghosts of the other people. So I think like the history of a space is kind of like built on the absence of those who lived in that space before. So it's kind of like my way of looking at like where I live and like where I go. So absence for me again is kind of the same as presence. If there is something not there, its absence becomes its presence. So it kind of manifests its presence by not being there. It's kind of like I write poems in my mother tongue, Farsi, and that's kind of like one of the motifs that I have in my poems, like the absence presence thing. So in the actual process of doing this, also this kind of shows itself, like at least I try to do it, that like the absence of the figures. Like how I actually did this one was I painted it first, and like painted it like with brown, and then I had a very small brush, so I actually with brush and a piece of cloth and water, I kind of like erased I kind of removed the paint. So this is not like white or anything else like painted. It was like this before, but then with my little brushes and water and cloth and cotton, I kind of like deducted something from here. So again, like that idea of absence, of not being there, and like the paint not being there creates the figure. It's like the person not being in this space creates the person's presence there. So in the actual process, I wanted to have that. I don't really know how successful it is, but at least I was happy when I did it. And the other thing that I was thinking about here was openings in the spaces, like windows and doors. I'm studying cinema, so it's like always one of the things that I think a lot about is like transitions between like shots and transition between spaces. You have a cut and then you go to another space. So for me, like openings, like windows, as you could see here, they are kind of like openings and to another, like they're a way to just move into another space. And when we think of like interior spaces, it could be like what is outside of this space. And what is our connection? What kind of connection we make between our interior space where we live in and outside? So that's kind of like one of the things that I was thinking about, and I'm still actually thinking about in this series. What else? One main source of inspiration was a film that I really, really like. It's by Montreal artist Michael Snow. He's a painter, and I don't really know if he's still alive though. Well, he did paintings and films. His film, I think it's from 1967, not too sure. It's called Wavelength. And it's just, you have the camera, and the camera zooms in for like 45 minutes. Nothing really happens, we just see a person making a phone call, we see like a dead body, but the camera is stationary, it just zooms in and zooms out sometimes. And then we hear the soundtrack is kind of funny too, we just hear different frequencies, I would say, which is kind of annoying sometimes. But yeah, that was one source of inspiration, since the camera just zooms in for 45 minutes, I think. At the end, we see a picture of the sea. So it's just the wave thing. So it zooms in, and we are curious what's happening actually, why the person is making the phone call, what is that dead body there, which kind of appears and disappears. So yeah, I was thinking of that again, because when again we enter into a space or moving to another apartment, something, we kind of we look around and we look for things, And this film was kind of like that, for me at least. My personal response to the film was we are curious what's going on. So we spend actually some time to look around or just focus on something. So yeah, that was one of the sources of inspiration. The last thing that I'd like to talk about is the actual self-reflexivity of the works. Whenever I work in a medium, I like to have I want to have a reference to the medium that I choose. Here, the medium painting is that in painting sometimes we try to create an illusion of depth, right? With perspective, with all different things, techniques that we use, and as I said, perspective here, it creates kind of a sense of depth. But we are aware that we are doing this on a two-dimensional surface, right? So two-dimensionality and creating the illusion of three-dimensionality is something that if we can address in the work, I think it kind of addresses the medium of painting itself. So I was thinking of, again, at the same time thinking of this and what I was thinking about in the very beginning of doing this, that the actual dream space and the actual the real world. So again, for me, that one was which one is real, right? Is the dream real or the real world real? So the painting also we know that this is an illusion of the space. It's not the actual space, right? So we are trying to create that dream space or the illusion, right? Since it is not real. So here I was thinking of actually having the work two-dimensional, having something that makes us think more about two-dimensionality of the work and how we try to create the illusion of three-dimensionality. So one of the reasons that I have these dotted lines, many people actually ask me in the vernissage, so I can explain it, I'm going to repeat the same thing. One of the reasons that I have the dotted lines is that all these boxes that we use to post the stuff, they have these dotted lines and we fold them to create something three-dimensional that contains something, right? But in the beginning it's kind of two-dimensional, right? So we fold it and make it three-dimensional, and then it carries something. So the empty two-dimensional flat thing becomes something that will actually move something from one space to another space. So that was kind of one of the reasons that I have this. And I don't really know how the whole thing started. I didn't really think of the box or something. I thought yeah, if I have dotted line, it creates something that is not really solid and real. And then when I did it, I thought, maybe I can fold the painting, So then I thought of the box. So I thought it was good. I actually liked it myself, so I thought I would share it with you. The other thing is the surface itself. That it's a wood piece that I got from Canadian Tire, and I actually looked for this surface, like this specific surface, for a very long time. Because one of the things that I think a lot about is how like different pieces of the past kind of like they are present at the moment, and they like constitute like what we are and how we feel, like they kind of influence how we feel. So this surface is actually like little pieces of wood that are compressed and glued together. So they are all little pieces. So it kind of like again manifests like what, like the fact that, you know, there are little pieces that are put together and create a big surface, or like what we are. Like these memories from the past, these experiences from the past, that they kind of like, they are there, right? And what we are is like what we were, right? So the surface itself actually, like why, somebody asked me like why I chose this one. I said like, you know, I could have chosen paper, or like just a flat surface, wood surface, or canvas. But I like this surface a lot. And I'm kind of obsessed with this because of the actual process that is used to make it, and how I make connection between this and what I think about memories. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any questions, thank you again.